Hey there, so we're going to go through a Pixelcade install for P3 panels. So in this case, if you happen to have access to a laser cutter or a friend with a laser cutter, you can cut the mounting plates, and I'm going to show you how to do the installs yourself. Okay, so first thing I recommend you do, the install is a little tricky in terms of the order, so definitely download this guide. That will help. So I'm going to look at this right now. We're going to go to step 1, Pixel and Pi boards. So Raspberry Pi is optional, but if you are doing a RetroPie or something, then you can also mount the Raspberry Pi. So we'll go through that in this video. But let's start with the Pixel board. So we're going to this board, and you're going to notice there's outside holes and inside holes. So for the 4 outside holes, we're going to take 4 of these nylon screws, insert them from the back, and take our hex screws and just insert like so. Okay, so that's the Pixel board. Let's do the same thing for the Pi. So in the Pi, again, we're gonna do the outside screws first. So these outside ones, don't worry about the inside ones. Oops. Okay, so we got our 2 boards. These are done. Okay, so step 2. So this is optional, and this would be if you wanted to hang this on the wall. And I'm gonna skip this in the interest of time, but here's another one that I did. And so basically, if you want to hang this on the wall as opposed to putting this in an arcade cabinet, you can put some hanging hooks. And these hooks, see how they stick out a little bit? As you have a lot of stuff going on in the back, so this helps you in that regard. So I'm going to skip that for now, but again, that is there. And if you wanted to do it, the hanging hooks holes are this one and that one. Again, we'll skip that. So let's move on to step 3, zip ties. So this is just helping you manage the cables. So take 2 zip ties. See these 2 kind of big holes right here and right here. Just go like so. That's one. And again, this is just to help you neaten up your cables when we're all done. So now, Pixel and Pi board inside screws on the board. So there's basically 4 right here for the Pixel board and 4 right here for the Pi. So let's go ahead, same thing, so go in from the back, take your hex nut, and if you get the kit from us, these parts all come with it. But if you don't, these are M3. So M3 hex nuts and M3, I think they're M3 by 10 nylon screws, by 10 or by 12. Okay. Oh, okay. So that was the Pixel board. Now we got to do the same thing over here for the Pi. And, you know, if you're not doing a Pi, I would still do these mounts because you won't be able to get to this part once everything's mounted, once the panels are there. And it gives you the flexibility to add them in the future. So even if you're not doing a Pi right now, just put the mounts anyway, just in case. Okay, so we got our mounts going, great. So next step is to actually mount the panels. So we have 2 64 by 32 P3 panels. So let me make some room here. Oop, my zip tie fell out. Put that back in. Okay, so on these panels, when you're doing these guys, make sure the arrow is pointing up. You don't want them like this. So you want it pointing up. Otherwise, basically everything will be upside down. And if you look at the panels as well, there's a little notch right here. And that will line up with one of the notches on these cutouts on these panels. There you go. Okay, so let's do the first one. I'm going to sit down for this. The other thing is these panels are actually pretty fragile. So I've seen these LEDs, like if you knock them, they can actually come off. So be very careful with them for sure. And if possible, have some kind of nice smooth surface. Okay, let's zoom in there a little bit. Okay, still lined up. And these you don't have to attach that tight.
Jacqueline and I are going biking.
Okay. Okay, so now let's do panel number 2. And again, we want to make sure that the arrow is pointing up. Let's make a little room here. Okay, arrow's pointing up, and we've got our holes lined up. That's a little notch right there. All right, I think I got all the screws. So let's zoom out here. Okay, everything is tied in. And I would flip it over and make sure there's no gap. You can't see any line here, so this looks pretty good. If there was a gap, you could actually loosen up these 2 screws and just kind of squeeze it together, but this one looks fine, so I think we're okay. So the next step, so that was step 5. Next step is to attach the ribbon cable, so this guy, panel 1 to panel 2. And the reason why we want to do this now is because once the board is mounted, we're not going to be able to get to this real estate. So we need to do it now. Oh, I did not the wrong way. Okay. So that was our ribbon cable, so step 6, and then we also want to do the power. So this is a custom power cable that we make. 2 Molex connectors here. Going to go power both of the LED panels. Okay, that is the power. All right, now we're on to step 7, mounting these actual boards. So let's do the Pixel board first. And we're going to orient it this way. So the USB connector needs to be pointing to the right. And let's zoom in a little bit. You can see those 4 screws here are going to go to these 4 right here. So let's go ahead and set that on there. Okay. And we will just attach them with these little hex screws. These don't need to be super tight, so you can do this by hand. Okay, let's do the same thing with the Pi. Okay, so the Pi, same thing. These 4 screws here are going to go to these guys right there. All right, so that was step 7. So you can see we got our mounting boards attached and our panels and our cables. So now we need to attach the actual boards. So first thing we're going to do is the Pixel board. So Pixel Maker's Kit comes with it. Let's go ahead and take the board out. Okay, now check to make sure, sometimes I just pop in the SD card. This one I already did, but if it's not there, it'll be in your kit. So just take the SD card out and pop that guy in. And the other thing is we want to make sure this is connected to USB. So it might by default be on Bluetooth. Make sure it's on USB. And I think that's it. So now let's go ahead and mount this guy. So we are going to mount it like so. Oh, so sorry. So see how here it says USB? This is USB, so you just want to, sorry, USB here, just make sure that's lined up. And this takes a little, sometimes it's a little tricky to get this to mount, so you just gotta line up the holes. Okay, good. Okay, so let's go ahead and mount the Okay, so that was our Pixel board. Great. Now let's do the Pi. All right, so here is our Pi. And on the Pi, see how it says HDMI there? So you just want to line it up with HDMI on your Pi. And I'll just warn you, the Pi is a little hard to get in, so you're going to have to force it in or finagle it a little bit. So we're going to line up those holes. Okay, again, apologies for that, but the Pi holes are slightly smaller, so you just have to force it down. And this actually isn't going to go anywhere as is, but to be on the safe side, let's just do the same thing. Let's take our screws here. And if you forget to put in your Pi SD card, we actually have a little gap for you, so you can do that later. So if you miss that, such as I did right now, it's okay. All right, almost done. So we've got our boards installed. Now we need to take our ribbon cable here, and basically we need to connect from the Pixel board to panel number 1. So it's a little bit tight quarters, but I think we can do it. Okay, so that is that. And now at this point, I think we can test. Oh, sorry, there is one other thing that I forgot. And that is in your kit, there's going to be this guy. And this is very important. If you don't do this, there's going to be no power, nothing's going to happen. But take this guy and just plug it in to this connector right here. And it'll be a little tricky. Okay, there it goes. Okay, and then the last thing we need to do is connect. So if you look at the power cable, there's the DC jack, which is right here, and then there's a female. So the male jack is going to go into our board like so. And then this guy is going to connect to our 5-volt 10-amp power brick. So power brick here, connector, there we go. And you see I got a red light, so we know we got power, and if all goes well, you should see a test image that says 1941, like so. So now we know we are all good. So, let me just take a look here. Everything's nice and mounted nicely. So, you know, if you're not using the Pi, then you would have skipped this step. But if you are using the Pi, then you would need to use our USB A-to-A cable. Okay, so if you are using the Pi, then you would use our USB A-to-A cable. This comes with the kit. And so basically it's got the USB A cable on both sides. And of course your Pi is going to need power. So right now we don't have it powered. Let's just unplug everything. But basically you're just going to plug in USB connect them. So I'm going to go USB here, and then the other end, and you have to tidy up these cables here obviously. The other end is going to go to USB on our Pi, like so. Put it away. Okay, so that is that. And okay, so then it's going to go here on the other end of the Pi, and we're all good to go. And then we can take our zip ties and kind of just do a little cable management. So that's it. Hope that was helpful. Again, you know, make sure you look at the instructions. Otherwise, you'll probably miss something and have to redo it. So very important. But there you have it. Oh, and there is one last thing that is optional. And that is, if you want to put this on your desk. So let's say you wanted to put this on your desk and do something like, for example, this one. This is actually a P2.5. So you can see the difference between the 2.5 and the P3. This is typically used for like pinball displays. But you'll notice that what I've done is I've just taken some hex screws and put a little acrylic piece in the front. This does two things. It protects the LED panels, and B, it gives you a nice little diffusion. This is a kind of smoke color, and LEDs kind of look a little nicer than with just raw like this. So if you want to do that, that is very easy to do. You basically have these 4 mounting holes here, and you can just take a hex screw, hex stand like this, and then just one end screw it there, and then just take that front piece and then just attach it. So I'm not going to do it here, but again, that's something you can do optional. And if you do want to do that, it's kind of nice because then this can sit on your desk quite nicely, and you can just plop it there like that. It's not going to fall over. So again, optional, but that is there for you to do. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful. Thank you.